So up next, we have presenter Joseph Sloop. Joseph currently serves as the Geographic Information Officer for MAP Forsyth City County Geographic Information Office in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Some of his duties include oversight of the Enterprise GIS Department, providing recommendations and solutions to geospatial and business needs, documenting return on investment of geospatial projects, and he sits on the Forsyth GIS Steering Committee. Prior to his current position, Joseph worked as a supervisor of land records, director of economic development, and planning as a town manager. Joseph holds a BS and MA in geography from Appalachian State University, and he has a PhD in geography from UNC Greensboro. He also holds designations as a Geographic Information Systems Professional, Certified Government Chief Information Officer, and is an Eagle Scout.
So in other words, I have way too much time on my hands. So let's see here. And as you can see, I'm going to go a little old school. I'm just going to do it from a PDF also. Very cutting edge here. Morning. Excuse me. So I'm Joseph. And so today my goal, and I apologize, I have a little bit of a cold, but my goal today is to talk a little bit about how I view these different technologies from a management standpoint. I do have a very unique background with my professional career and things like that. But I think it serves well in the position I am in, and I will go a little bit more into detail on that. So just quickly the outline. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about Map Forsyth because it's important that you understand the context in which I'm coming from in terms of this presentation. Next, I'll talk a little bit about how we use GIS and the different tools we use GIS in our shop. And so luckily I have a couple of my amazing staff in here. So if you want to ask very technical questions, I'll just refer you to them. I'll make them raise their hands later, embarrass them and everything. So, So first, Map Forsyth, what are we? So in 2009, the city of Winston, Forsyth County said, hey, we have a lot of GIS going on, a lot of duplication of effort, all kinds of things going on. So what they did, like any good government, did a strategic plan. And then 2 years later, they finally hired the first staff to implement that. So as we know, the technology at that point was completely changed. So then we didn't jump right into it. We wanted to do a couple years of just trial. So then in 2005, we became an official standalone enterprise department. And then in January 2017, we completed this by putting out interlocal agreements with almost all of the municipalities located within Forsyth County. So we handle all of the addressing, and we also handle GIS in regards of special projects. So we didn't steal all the GIS people out of planning or tax and these kind of things. They still exist. So what I say we get to do the fun stuff with GIS, right? We get to go and experiment, learn the new technology, come up with cool business solutions. So I love my job. It's a lot of fun. So my management tools. So Forsyth County uses Google. So we have the Google Suite, which is similar to Microsoft Suite. We use Google Drive, Google Sheets, Google Docs, all that kind of stuff. We use a lot of Python in the shop. I'll talk a little bit about this Esri system monitoring tool. It's beta, but we actually had them come in and install it on our all of our GIS servers. I'll go a little bit more in detail about that and how we use it. And we use things like, Lucidchart and other things, obviously, to diagram out all of the servers we have and business processes. And I put the ERISA GIS capability maturity model. How many people are familiar with that? I probably heard Greg Babinski talk a little bit about it and things like that. I put it kind of in the middle as open source, but yet proprietary, because now with ERISA, you can actually pay just a little bit more, and they have an online system where you can actually go in and fill the information in, and it helps you. Or I'll show you what I did, and we actually do pay for the new version, but it was not around when I started using it, so I used a spreadsheet, and so it works good too. First up, I just want to talk a little bit about the system monitoring tool. What this allows us to do, like I said, we were able to install it on all of the GIS servers. One task that we have as Map Forsyth is to kind of oversee GIS, make sure things are working. Now, I want to emphasize, we are not an IT department. We do not want to be an IT department. And I make that very clear with my steering committee and councils and everybody else. We don't want that role. And so what we do is we monitor, for example, this is a screenshot, I'm sorry if it's a little blurry, of license being used. So it shows if it's basic, advanced, the time of day, the day, how many are being used, and those kind of things. The city of Winston has roughly 122 installs and 28 concurrent license. So believe it or not, there are times when they run out of license. And so what does that do for me, right? I can usually go and say, hey, we need to buy more Esri license. And people can just write it off. Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, you're just a GIS technology guy. You always want more money. With these kind of tools, I can actually show the numbers. And so when I sit down with budget or upper management, I have numbers, which they love, and say, look, over the past month, we have run out of license this percent, and then I can say, well, here's what it would cost to get more license, and or it gives an opportunity, do these folks really need license, or we should put them on some sort of web map, an ArcGIS Online map or some other web map to alleviate the burden of license. The next screenshot here again is another screenshot from the system monitoring tool. Like I said, this sits on top of all of our GIS servers, so it shows you the CPU utilization. The nice thing is it'll let us know error codes too, and so some of my poor staff get those emails when stuff comes through. So we've been working with Esri, like I said, it's still in beta, so we've been working with them to totally figure out those emails. I know one employee was receiving emails all weekend long because nobody was on it and things like that. So we only monitor Monday through Friday at this point. And what we do is we run reports weekly. And what do we do with those reports? We send them to the IT groups. So we have a very unique relationship. We like I said, we deal with multiple municipalities. And so therefore we deal with a lot of different IT groups. And every IT group is a little different organizationally and structure. So what we do, the system monitor is really cool. It'll spit out this amazing report in Excel, 20 plus tabs of just pure information. It is pretty overwhelming and daunting at times. But the nice thing is they make it easy, right? Bright red, hey, there's something going on. There's an error. So what we do is we quickly scan through all this information, and then we send these reports to the two IT groups, and we say, oh, by the way, you need to check this or check this and check this. And then they have the subject matter experts to go in and do all of that. So it keeps it nice and clean. And because of that, I think we work really well together. Now, if we notice something during the day that's just, boom, it comes up and it's an emergency, we obviously let them know immediately. And that way they can get resources on the issue to correct it. Okay, so I promised I would talk a little bit about the GIS maturity capability model. I will try not to bore too many folks. If you're down the weeds, this is good stuff. It's very important. So like I said, we use Google. So how many people have ever used like Google Forms or SurveyMonkey, those kind of things, right? It's awesome. I love it because the back end, it does everything for you. You just send it out there and let people fill it out, right? So with this, what we did, so like I said originally, when all this came out, a lot of hype about it. Hey, this new way of looking at GIS departments to see if you're getting a good return on investment, all these kind of things. I'm like, yes, sweet, that's what I need. I need that. So when I'm sitting with the county manager saying, I need more resources, or this is what we're going to do, I need that. It was in a paper copy, right? And I was like, well, I'll be honest, I'm kind of lazy. That's why I like technology. It allows me to be lazy. So we went in and we put it in a Google form. And what I do, I send it to all my staff and ask all of them to fill it out. And then over here on the side, the back end is a Google sheet, just like a spreadsheet. So all the information comes in. And then what we've done, we've gone in there and just written a couple different little scripts and things like that to pull the data, aggregate it how we want to see it and understand it, right? So basically I take the average of everything. Now, this model is broken up into two pieces, enabling and execution. And so with the enabling part, there's 22 questions. Execution has 13 questions. So it's fairly long. And what I do, I make them do this survey at the end of each fiscal year. And then I get all the data and I look at it. So what do I do with it then, right? I have it, and then as you can see in the two different screenshots, execution and enabling. Under enabling, the goal is 1. Under execution, the goal is 5. So then I quickly can kind of take a look, okay, where are we not meeting those goals? Obviously, the goal is to hit a 1 or a 5. So how, I remember when I was first doing this, like, okay, this is great and all this looks cool, but numbers, what does it actually mean in the real world? How can I actually apply this information? So breaking it down, there's things like project management methodology. And so what I did then is said, okay, I want to see the worst to the best. And then what we do each year, we sit down and say, okay, you know what, we're horrible at project management. How can we improve that? Does somebody need to take on that role, or do I need to do something? So here again, what that does is that builds in to my next year's work plan. That builds in when I go sit with budget and have my budget meetings, if I'm asking or requesting for positions or requesting for anything, I have data backing me up. And here again, we start looking at it through the different years, and obviously should be improving. And what's interesting, in some cases, last time we took it, we actually drop off in some areas. And so then I have to step back and say, okay, am I not making, as a manager, I like to make sure my department knows everything about this department, how it functions, how it works. One day I will win the lottery and I'll move on to a tropical paradise. So I want them to be able to pick it up and keep running with it. It's proven itself time and time again in terms of our budget with elected officials and everyone else. So obviously a very important tool. And so, but I'll sit and say, okay, why did we drop off? Did we get a new employee who just didn't know what we do, didn't know about how we replace our PCs or when we upgrade the Esri license and other things like that? So here again, it's just a great management tool. Here again, all this is, like I said, all this is done just in Google Sheets and Google Forms. Just obviously you can do it at home. Do it through your free accounts and things like that. The other thing we found is GIS has a hard time being on an IT work order system. Sometimes it just doesn't work out so well, especially if we're serving multiple IT departments. So we finally said, okay, you know what, we're just going to create our own spreadsheet. And so we entitled it Because We Do Not Have a Work Order System. And what we do, we just track everything we do in this. And we create a lot of drop downs very quick. I don't want my employees spending hours filling this thing out. And so here again, we're collecting all of this information. Once again, I can do the nice pretty charts and graphs and all those kind of things. It helps me defend my employees, their positions, what they're doing, everything. Why is that all important? So I came from town management. I came from economic development. I like numbers. I like to use them to my advantage. I like to push and get as much as I can for my department, make sure that we're very efficient. So here again, we have a lot of different things that are tracking a lot of different numbers. Well, so I don't have to go to Google Analytics or the Sheets or ArcGIS Online to see how all our web maps are doing, or the system monitoring tool. I had one of my staff that said, is there any way we can pull all this information from all these different places and create a nice, pretty, easy to read form, right? So that's what he did for me. So he's in the crowd. So if you want to talk technical with him and how he pulls from all these different places, I'll let him speak to that. To me, it's just a miracle, right? He's just a miracle worker. And so what does that do for me? It makes my life easy. So now, because here again, part of what we are to do as Map Forsyth, we generate a lot of reports. I do a lot of reports. I can have these monthly reports about GIS, how things are going. What are the top 5 ArcGIS Online public web maps? How many hits are they getting? So we have a tax application, Geodata Explorer. How many hits are we getting per month on that? And we have a centralized data repository. Who's putting data in there? Who's not putting data in there? Lots of things. And not, like I said, we're over addressing. So obviously that's very political. And people want to know what's happening with addressing. How many new address points do we have? And it ties right back into the Census Luca. And so we want to keep track of every bit of this. Like I said, the magic is the script that Skip is written to be able to go out and grab data from all these different places, because it's a time saver. I don't have to go and look and hunt down everything. I have it ready. So literally, I have my elevator speech constantly with me. So somebody says, well, how are we doing on this? Boom, well, here, let me show you. All right, but what about the non-GIS users, right? So imagine a bunch of us have created web maps, we've created collector apps, we've created all kinds of things, right? Right, yes, nod the head, yes. A lot of people do those kind of things, maybe, maybe not. All right, well, that's great, right? Go out, collect the signs, go out, collect fire hydrants, that's awesome. But then the managers are like, well, how's my staff doing? And I got to budget in, with the whole change in law on the sign reflectivity. I have to budget in how many we're going to change out this year. How many do we have? Do we have an inventory? So what we have done is we actually worked with General Services. There's an RGS collector app we built for them. They go out and collect all the signs so they have a nice inventory of their signs. Here again, we use WebEx, Python to create a form in which the managers who don't even need any kind of GIS ability, they just need to know how to do clicks and drop downs, can generate reports on how many signs are being collected, where they're at, how many signs, and they can even meet the criteria, because we put it in the attributes. Does it meet the state reflectivity requirement, yes or no? All of a sudden they can generate these reports. The nice thing about this is it requires no ARC license. We can put it on any machine we want, doesn't require any kind of licensing, and so obviously that's cost savings, and a lot of the managers like it. We can have it linked back into the map, so they can kind of see the area which they're looking at. And like I said here again, it generates a nice PDF report for them for whatever their business needs are. All right, I'm going to take a drink of water. But we're going to start talking about what these guys do to make the magic happen each and every day in our shop. So as you can see, we love geospatial technology. It's out there, we want to try and use it. And that's part of what we're tasked for. And like I said, that's the cool thing. We hear something, that's why we love coming to conferences. We get to learn from all these other professionals. We hear something like, hey, let's go test that out. Let's go check that out. So as you can see, we use a lot of QGIS, KNIME, Postgres, GRASS, Google, and then, of course, Community Analyst, Esri, SQL, and a whole host of other things. So I'm just going to show you a couple of different examples of projects we've done in our shop and just very quickly kind of tell you what we use to do them. In this case, ArcMap, and we actually used Community Analyst. We just took the polygon of the study area, put it in Community Analyst. If you've ever used it, it's amazing. I wish it was around when I was doing economic development, because all of a sudden I can generate a report of market study, retail leakage, all kinds of different things very quickly based on my area, based on that polygon. And so you can customize that and tweak that. So here again, that was all Esri products that we actually used for that. The other thing, like I said, we've taken over addressing for the city and county. And we just did a big addressing project to create a master address repository. And with that, we were like, we need a nice tool that will edit both our SQL and our SDE at the same time. So we don't forget and say, oh, I edited this one, but I forgot to edit this one. We want to keep everything very in sync. So we actually contracted with RGA and Associates, and they have a tool called the RGA MAR tool. I don't know if he has an official name for it yet or not. But what it does allow those individuals in ArcMap, it's plugged in ArcMap, to edit SDE and the SQL MAR at the same time. So there's no forgetting, and it's open source. Here again, we can install it on as many computers as we want. We actually keep it locked down because we only want a couple people editing address points and center lines. And what we're doing right now is we actually are replicating the SQL over to a Postgres database, because eventually Robert's told us that he'll make his tool also work to where it will edit the GIS side of things, but also in Postgres. So we're just being prepared for that, because we'd like to switch over to that just to see performance-wise and kind of compare. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with KNIME. If not, go Google it, take a look at it. It's awesome. What it does is it's an engine where you can go and you can grab from any database you want. You bring data in, you mush it all up however you want, and it spits out what you want. I know that's very technical, right? Those are all very technical terms. This is one script, and actually it's not all of it. We actually lost some of it. It wouldn't fit on the slide, in which we're going out and getting tax tabular data. We have in-house. We had an in-house system, switching to a third-party system. There's lots of tables we need to be grabbing tax information from. So this is what this script is doing for us. And the nice thing is, if you're familiar with Model Builder, it's a lot like that. So a lot of GIS people can actually just jump right in, and it's database agnostic. It could care less what it's pulling from. And that's the other cool thing about this. And then what it does, spits it out into a nice spreadsheet or form for us, and then all we do is just a simple join to the parcel polygons, and boom, we have our parcel polygons with every bit of tax information under the sun you would ever want. So we use Google Maps quite a bit. So in this case, we just created a bond tracker application. The county just passed a couple different bonds. But the back end's SDE. So here again, we work with our IT group a little bit on this, and they kind of created the front end. We do all the mapping piece. But here again, another time, we actually use Google Maps, but we had a back end of Postgres. So like I said, we at the end of the day, we could care less what the technology is. We're looking for the best tool that's going to provide the best business solution for our clients. And I call everybody clients because that's how we're almost like a vendor in a lot of ways. So QGIS, right? I don't know how many people use QGIS in the room. I use it a lot in school and things like that, and it's great. I really like it. And actually, we have found times where it's easier to do something in QGIS than it is Esri. So it saves us a lot of time. We just throw it in here, run the process. So, for example, in this case, we had a bunch of points where houses were, and we needed to know what the closest school and park and things like that were, basically just Euclidean distance. And just literally 2 clicks of the button in QGIS, and boom, we have our output. And so it's associated with the PIN number, tells me the name of the park, tells me the distance, everything right there. Very simple. And so like I said, we're all about getting things done. So just kind of to wrap things up with you. Hopefully it didn't bore you too much, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like building a house, right? You need certain tools for different parts of that house. I was joking, hey, if I'm laying plumbing, I'm not going to use a chainsaw, right? I'm going to use a ditch witch and other things to dig and put it in there. So here again, what we are really concerned with, and I know this is a very hot topic, and it's very, very important, and I know sometimes it can be pretty dry, but ROI. How do we calculate that? That's always on our mind, because I have found that if I can go and say, hey, we'd like to do $1 million project, but here's your return on investment over X number of years, that's a lot easier to swallow than you're going to do what? And them not understand everything. Here again, like I said, at the end of the day, we just want the best service for those departments and individual we're working with and the citizens. And so we really don't care if it's proprietary or open source. We use a lot of different things. We're getting ready to do a pilot project and testing Arc Server and SDE on Postgres. And we're going to track all the performance on that. So that's all I have. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of give a 10,000-foot view of kind of what we do in our shop, how we mix up open source and proprietary softwares to help us do what we need to do each and every day. Happy answering questions. Yes.
What does your organization look like as far as where your developers are, organization, I think you mentioned that you servers and IT separate, and how
Okay, so the question was how is our organizational structure with IT and GIS? Is it correct? So, like I said, we are standalone GIS department. We actually work with 2 main IT groups, and so each IT group has their own database administrators. They have web developers in each, and then so 2 of my staff are actually GIS programmers. And they actually came out of the IT departments. I didn't steal them, but I took them. And they're ours now. So obviously they have a lot of that background. And the nice thing is because of that, and they already had relationships with a lot of those guys in the IT departments, it's very easy for them to sit down and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what I can bring to the table. And they'll say, yeah, we'll just pick it up from here. And so it sounds like a very hard wall, but it's not. I mean, we do, almost every project, we at least have some IT representation in there. If nothing else, just to let them know, we're getting ready to do this. Do you guys have any issues? Is this going to mess up something? But we rely very heavily upon them for all your networking and security and all that. Like I said, we don't want any part of that. They're the pros. Let them do it. So. It's a combination. We're trying to work that out because we don't have a lot of folks who actually use Postgres. There is a guy who is at this conference somewhere. He's from IT, and he's under emerging technologies. And so we've been working very closely with him. He's the one who helped us set up, him and actually Skip, the guy sitting next to you, set up the first Postgres we used And so it's kind of a collaboration because we're all still kind of learning it. And so what I'm having to pitch is okay, if this product is really good, money-wise, performance-wise, okay, what about staffing? Who's going to support this? So that's what we're figuring out too. And it probably will be, there's no real black and white. A lot of times there's a lot of gray area, which is fine because we usually are pretty agreeable about that. So it's not as clean cut, but like I said, good thing is we have a good relationship with him. And so, he does, the IT guy's not necessarily GIS, but he understands the Postgres, open source, and all these other things we're pushing. So that's why he's here, to learn more about GIS too. And there he is. There he is, in the back. So we love him. We love our IT guys. Yes?
I had a question about how you replicate SQL Server to Postgres.
Okay. Yeah, I would talk to them. Yeah, I'm going to deflect that one. I've learned how to delegate very well. He'll be happy to answer that after.
Would he be available to speak after?
Chris, will you be available after?
My name is easier.
Thank you.
Any other questions?